Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got Ryan Richardson, and today we're going to be talking about the apricot seeds that have reversed all the cancers and patients that I've seen so far. With you guys, Ryan and your family, John, that I've also interviewed. This is really important because this is a very big war against big pharma, chemotherapy, and also a multi-billion-dollar company that they're running, which I think is absolutely crimes against humanity because it's not really doing a great job. But you've got some stories to share. And first of all, I want to ask you, how are you and what have you been up to?
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you for that. As some of your viewers may have known, my father's John Richardson, and he founded Richardson Nutritional Center. I've been in the movement and working alongside of him for my entire life. About 4 years ago, I came back to work for him. When I was graduating college, me and my father butt heads a little bit. He said, "Go get a real job, go get some real life experience. You don't know everything, son." And so I went and did that for about 10 years. But about 4 years ago, he said, "Okay, I think it's time for you to come back and let's work together again." And so that's when I came back, and I've done every position in our company. I've been back there bagging seeds. I've helped source. I've helped clean the warehouse. There's nothing below me at this company, and I became president about 2 years ago. And so I've been really taking our company and trying to bring us to the 21st century. And so I was just explaining to you, Nick, prior, we weren't able to go on an Instagram, a Rumble. Rumble wasn't available back then because we would just get kicked off all these social media channels. Well, now we're allowed. The conversation is starting to shift more towards natural healing. We couldn't be more thrilled, but I've been working tirelessly to get our company in a position to maximize those channels and really get the word out there, because we have so many compelling, amazing stories that just get buried. But if anybody goes to like a YouTube video talking about B17 and you look at the comments, you'll see there's hundreds of positive comments about it. So I'm really here just to try to amplify that message and tell some stories and see if maybe we can get people to try something that they hadn't considered before.
Absolutely. Well, let's go with, you've got two really good stories that you'd like to share of
Yeah.
people that have had cancer and you've reversed it. Now, your dad, John Richardson, mentioned to me that everyone who's followed the protocol have had their cancers reversed, and I'm talking including leukemia, which is a very, very a violent cancer, and I think we're talking even stage 4. Please correct me, and please let me allow you to give us those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be very careful. It's not a silver bullet, right? Everybody's different, but we have seen all types of cancers be reversed, yes. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work 100% of the time, because we're all different. And the sad reality is, in the case of my grandfather and his patients, they were coming to him after a year or two of chemo, right? They've exhausted all of the orthodox medicine options that are essentially what's going to die first, the cancer or the body. And so after that, your body's really weak, your immune system's weak. And so the fact of the matter is the longer you wait to get in the protocol, the harder it is to reverse things. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt that it does stop the growth. It does stop the growth. And the first things that we hear from people is any pain that they had related to their cancer goes away, and their appetite comes back. Two huge things, because when you see somebody going through that, they're often very frail and light. They've lost weight. They can't really eat anymore. And so it's important to be able to get nutrients into your body. You have to be able to eat. And so, yes, we've seen it work in all types of cases. It sure as heck is a lot better than what they're doing right now with surgery, radiation, chemo. We've been doing the same exact things for 50 or 60 years, and it's not improving at all. And you've seen the cancer rates; they're spiked like crazy right now. It's a very scary time.
Exactly, and it's happening to a lot of youngsters, and I think a lot of the vaccines have caused them as well. Now, but let's go into the stories with some of the people that have used the
Yeah, of
apricot seeds,
course.
because
And
I understand the seeds are very bitter, and that's what and that bitterness, I forgot the name of it, but you can tell me. But that's what causes the reversal of the cancer.
Yeah, it's actually it's amygdalin is what it's called in its natural form, B17 or Laetrile. It's all really referencing the same vitamin nowadays. And yes, you're right. That's the vitamin, the cancer fighting vitamin is what's bitter. Now, this vitamin isn't just found in apricot seeds, right? It's found in 1,200 different edible foods. It's found in spinach. It's found in watercress. It's found in lima beans. It's found in lentils. The list goes on and on and on. Blackberries. It's found in all these way smaller traces than in the apricot seed. So the idea is if we're deficient in this vitamin as a nation, what's the easiest way to get it back into our system? It's these power-packed seeds. Just have 5 or 10 a day. Start slow if you've never taken them. And not because this vitamin can harm you, but because we don't know how deficient you are. And so you need to start slow, just see how you are. The worst thing that could happen to you is you'll get an upset stomach or some lightheadedness. But the fact of the matter is, 100 years ago, this was in all of our food. We didn't need to supplement it. It was in our bread even. So now that all of this nutrients has been stripped from our food, that's why the easiest way is to just take some apricot seeds, like you said. But that bitter flavor is why Americans don't really like bitter, right? We like sweet, we like sugar, we like this. And the Europeans, it's the same, similar, but there are certain countries where they embrace the bitter, and you see far less cancer in those countries, far less. So to go into a couple stories I love to tell, the first one is about my grandfather. He wrote a book called Laetrile Case Histories, which is on our website. And he proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that in 61 cases that Laetrile stopped or reversed the cancer growth. And and this book was written, 50 years ago now. And just a few months ago, we got somebody that wrote in, and I'm going to read you guys this from the message that we received, wrote into RNC Store. And she says, a friend I grew up with and knows my story recently made me aware that John Jr., that's my father, is continuing his wonderful father's legacy. My maiden name is Herbert, and I'm one of the patients in the book, Laetrile Case Histories. I cannot remember which one I am, but it starts out with, this 12-year-old girl from New Jersey had acute lymphoblastic leukemia in 1974, or something like that. Anyway, John A. Richardson Sr., which was my grandfather, who was the doctor, was a godsend to my parents and me. We got to be such good friends that we were invited to Becky Richardson's wedding. That's my aunt. And of course, we knew Steve, my uncle. I'm not sure if he's still a chiropractor, but I'd love to reconnect. I am now 63 years old, turning 64 on December 30th of this year. I was so happy that my friend recently forwarded the interview, Cancer Defense with John Richardson Jr., that John recently did on YouTube. I remember meeting Dr. Richardson back in 1974, and he was such a wonderful man. He made a 12-year-old girl not be so scared. And so she went through a year and a half of chemotherapy at 11 years old at the Mayo Clinic, I believe it was. And they read about my grandfather. They got in a car, they drove halfway across the country, and they saw him, and she got healed 100% back to health. She now since then has done an interview with my father. They've been sharing photos. She's got grandchildren, and it's such an amazing story and powerful story. Sometimes that we forget that I forgot about. I forget about this 50 years later, and then how cool is it that she reached back out? And I believe you've talked to Rick Hill, who has a very similar story. 50 years ago, this happened, and around that same time, that's when they started demonizing this vitamin and saying, "Oh, it doesn't work. It's poisonous." And they, wrote 170 hit pieces, and then it's kind of been the forgotten vitamin ever since. And so that was the first story I wanted to tell. It makes me emotional. Because the butterfly effect of that, there's humans living because of that, so it's really cool.
Absolutely. So let's speak about the leukemia girl. Actually, she was 2 years old, I think, and she had leukemia, she had it completely reversed with the apricot seeds. Mm-hmm. And I think years and years later, I think she's 60 something years old today, and she's still alive.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So you're talking about the one from this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she had acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and I did 3.5 years of pre-medicine. I wanted to be a doctor, but I don't know the science behind the difference in those cancers. but I know that acute lymphoblastic leukemia is a notoriously tough cancer to defeat. And so the first thing that they did was my grandfather put her in the protocol. You start with B17, vitamin C, and you start in IVs. And as I alluded to before, she was throwing up every day because of the chemo. The first thing that changed was her appetite. Her appetite came back, and she was out of pain. It took about 8 weeks, and in those 8 weeks, she became best friends with my aunt and uncle, and there was a bowling alley right next to my grandfather's clinic. And so they would, after treatment, the kids would all go and they'd go bowling. And she, over the course of a few weeks, she said she couldn't even pick up a ball at first. And then in 3 weeks, she was bowling times a day without any issues. And it only took about 8 weeks for her to be fully healed. Now, that's not everybody heals that fast, right? Sometimes it's a lot longer, sometimes it's shorter. Everybody's different, but in this case, it was a complete miracle.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a very big miracle. And people are just dying every day today because of cancer. And you guys should be on CNN breaking news that you've got this reversal of cancer. That's where we should have. That's what should be happening if we had a proper media that cared about the people. But obviously
I
we don't.
totally agree. Totally agree. And that's what I struggle with often is like, what can I do better to make sure this is front and center? And I think it starts with what we're doing right now, right? Just
Yeah.
starting grassroots, telling people the truth, because the fact of the matter is we are going up against a machine, and the machine doesn't like to be disturbed. Right. And I get that a lot from my friends. Ryan, if who knows more, Ryan and his dad and his grandpa, or the entire medical establishment, right? We've been so conditioned that whatever they say is right because we believe that they have our best interests at heart, but they're showing us time and time again that they really don't. And we should be questioning everything they do. And so that reminds me of another story that, before we were able to go on social media, me and my family, we were doing trade shows or health food shows, any way we can kind of get the word out there. And I had a woman that we had met about 4 years ago, and she runs a gym, she runs like a private gym in New Jersey, where she has someone come in and she does one-on-one private training for like an hour. And she loved our story so much and loved our product, she started carrying it and selling it to her people that she was training. Well, one of her best, her favorite people, she actually had one of her breasts removed because they had early detection, 10 years ago or something. She was able to keep her other breast. And she came in sad one day and she said, look, they found cancer in my other breast and they want me to get rid of it, within the week. And this woman said, no, please. I've had these apricot seeds here, and shame on me for not telling you more about these. Give me 30 days. Please give me 30 days and just eat 20, work your way up, but get to 20 of these seeds a day. 30 days, she went back in, cancer-free, and saved her breast. And I have that story on video. I love telling it. I have hundreds of stories like that. I have thousands of stories like that. I've been at Expo West, a natural health product place, and I've had people grab me and shake me and say, I'm only alive because of your grandfather. I never got to meet my grandfather, but I've ran into that countless and countless of times.
Mm.
And the only thing I can attempt to do is convey that to people so they can start to listen.
Why don't you tell me about what happened with your great grandfather regarding was it your great grandfather you're saying?
It was my grandfather, just
Your
my
grandfather, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to tell that story. Yeah.
Tell me the story regarding how deep state agents or something like that went to take his license away from him and they found out what he was doing. Let's talk about that because he was censored. And
he was totally censored.
Yeah, and they tried to stop him because he was doing something great. He was taking a lot of money away from Big Pharma, and he was reversing people's cancer. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so my grandfather was just a normal ENT, ear, nose, throat specialist, right? And just like any other doctor, he would have 10, 15, 20% of his cases would come and do, and they would have cancer. So he would send them to the local surgery or radiation or chemotherapy person, right? And he kept noticing, he's like, no one's getting better. I keep sending people away, and I never hear from them again. Like, what's going on? And it actually started with a family cat, and our family cat had a tumor, and he took it to the vet. And said, well, we could do surgery, but he's got a 15 or 20% chance to live, and it'll be $3,000. And in 1950 or 60, that was a lot of money. So he read something in the newspaper about a local doctor named Dr. Krebs, who had been doing research on this natural vitamin and was seeing results. And so he got in the car. He was just 45 minutes away, drove over to him and said, okay, tell me what this is all about. And so the doctor said, here's the protocol for your cat. Put this in its food every day. And within a month, all of the tumors were gone. And so that's when he was like, whoa, okay, something's going on here. And he heard that they were starting to use it on humans. Well, he accidentally became a cancer clinic kind of overnight, because once you get miraculous results like that, and it's kind of unheard of, word gets spread very quickly. He did not do any advertisement, but pretty soon he had a line out the door. And he's like, holy smokes, we got something here. This is the most amazing thing ever. And so he goes out there and he's telling everybody about it right now. He's getting other doctors. It wasn't just my grandfather that was administering this. Now, there's 50 other brave doctors, right, that were also doing this and speaking up. My grandfather was just the loudest, and he got sued by the federal government 4 times. And so they're basically saying that you cannot use anything found in nature and use it as a treatment for anything. And they said that the only 3 treatments that are available for cancer is surgery, radiation, and chemo. And that is still true today. Can you believe that? I can't believe that that's the only ones that they're allowed to prescribe. And so he says, I don't care if it's found in nature. If it works, it works. And we should be studying it. We should be celebrating it. We should be doing all of these different studies. And so what happened was they did some major studies at like Johns Hopkins and Harvard and Stanford. And what they were trying to do was to figure out how they could alter the molecule in any way so that they can patent it. If they were able to successfully do that, it turns out when you alter any part of this to try to make it synthetic, the entire molecule breaks down. So instead of saying, you know what, this is a great, amazing thing for humanity, they said, it doesn't work. It didn't show any positive results in our tests, and there's documentaries about this that prove that they were lying. But if they had been able to patent it and call it a drug, Nick, you bet it would be everywhere today, and we would see far less cancer.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing a great job for obviously, continuing your grandfather's legacy. And your dad is amazing also. But I want to just say thank you very much for sharing everything with us today. I'm going to leave the link below in the description so the viewers have access to the apricot seeds. And I believe that you also offer customized protocols for each person that is suffering from cancer, depending on what stage they're on, what type of cancer it is, so you can optimize their results in reversing cancer. Do you want to just speak a little bit on that?
Absolutely. I want to speak on that specifically because part of the reason that I'm out here telling people about this now, it was my father, and I always said, I don't want the spotlight, and I really don't. I don't like the attention, but part of it is because I feel like we talk about that so much. When you're sick, what do you get into? And yes, we do have protocols for that, and we do have help. We have a website. If you're suffering from stage 3 or 4, you should go to b17works.com. That's a great resource for it's just free resources for the protocol, and then you can get whatever you need at RNC, or if at RNC store using Nick's link. But I want to speak about the healthy people, preventing this, because as you alluded to, and you're correct, and young people, cancer rates are soaring. They're soaring. And so it's better to think about this now and be preventative, and then to be forced to make some changes and decisions later. So I plead to any of your listeners that are healthy too. If you're sick, of course, you need this more than anybody, and you need it now. But if you're healthy, you need to be taking this now. You'll take far less than you would if you get sick. And my grandfather always said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And it's never been more true than this vitamin. So please, even if you're healthy, take this. And the other thing I wanted to finish on about my grandfather was He was sued by the federal government 4 times, and he won all 4 times. And you were asking about how he got harassed. He was stalked. His patients were stalked. Anybody that talked out about it positively were told that if you continue to do that, you or your family will be harmed. They used massive scare tactics. They wrote 171 hit pieces on Laetrile saying it's poisonous, and if you take too much, it'll kill you. And since then, in that year where they run 171 hit pieces, there's been like 7 other articles written in like the last 50 or 60 years. Hit pieces, that is. So it just goes to show you it was a coordinated attack to sweep something under the rug that they couldn't control.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, thank you very much for sharing everything with us today. Great job. And we'll speak again very soon. Don't forget to click the link below. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
Sorry, just have to